Hi everyone, welcome and thanks for joining us. We're just going to give people a minute to join us and then we'll start the webinar. Okay, we've still got a couple of people coming in, so just give it just a few more moments. Okay, so I think we'll get started. So hello and welcome everybody. Thank you very much for joining us wherever you are in the world today. My name is Jenny, I'm from Leeds Arts University and I'm joined by Sarah Crack, who is from Goldsmiths University of London, Jessica Wrightson, who is from the Arts University Bournemouth, and Felicity Lloyd, who's from the University of the Creative Arts. And we are just 4 of the 8 creative universities taking part in the Creative events taking place today and tomorrow. I hope you've been able to join some of the other sessions as well. I hope you've been finding them useful so far. As we go through, if you have any questions, please do put them in the chat, and please do feel free to introduce yourselves and say where you're from as well in the chat. And we'll try our best to answer questions as we go through, but if you have any other questions, we'll also have time at the end. So like I said, today this session is just really about giving you an overview, just information for international students thinking about the UK as their study destination. Just to give you an overview of what we're going to cover, then really why you should consider the UK as a study destination and why you should consider studying art and design. Then we're going to talk about careers in the creative industries and where your studies can take you. We'll touch on the Foundation Diploma in Art and Design, which is a below degree level course that you may or may not want to consider studying before you study your main degree course. And then we'll talk about how to go about doing your research and making your application to a UK university. We'll explain how to prepare an outstanding portfolio, but we do have a longer session which is focused on portfolio development as well, so do make sure you attend that. Then we'll give you a short introduction to our universities. And as I said, we'll have time for questions and answers at the end. But if anything does come up as we go through, do feel free to pop those questions in the chat. And now I think I'll hand over to you, Sarah.
Thanks so much, Jenny. So hello everyone. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the UK higher education system in general, and also why you might want to consider studying a creative subject here in the UK. So in terms of the UK HE system, generally students apply for a specific subject and they will study that subject from day 1. And in terms of the length of study, so it depends where you study in the UK, but our undergraduate degrees tend to be 3 or 4 years, and our postgraduate degrees are usually 1 year, with occasional degrees maybe 2 years, which is possible as well. And the teaching style, so you might be familiar with kind of the bigger lecture theatres that you see on telly. So we do have the bigger lecture theatres, but we always supplement this with smaller group teaching. So this could be seminars or tutorials, for example, where you have close contact with your classmates as well as your tutors. So it's a great opportunity to share information there. And in terms of the kind of the style of learning in the UK, so with the academic culture, we do value initiative and generally expect students to kind of follow their coursework and to manage their academic progress and their time effectively. So this can take a little bit of adjusting to, but you definitely get used to this way of working in the UK. And there is support there if you need any help with kind of managing your time and learning how to do that. And obviously academics are important, but there's lots of things you can get involved in outside of your studies. So we have clubs and societies and different groups for pretty much everything. And if we don't have it, you can definitely set it up. And it's good if you're interested in extracurricular activities to get in touch with the Students' Union, as they tend to run these kind of things at different universities. If you would like to work where you study, then generally that's an option under your student visa. So you can usually work part-time, up to 20 hours while you study. And in terms of kind of what a UK degree can give you, they're generally recognised kind of, worldwide by employers in different industries. So it'll definitely stand you in a good a good position when looking for a job after university. So why study a creative degree in the UK? Well, there are lots and lots of reasons why we think you should, but in general, we have such a fantastic reputation in the creative industries, and it really is, I think, the UK in general, wherever you study, is a really inspiring place. There's lots of cultural achievements, lots of heritage, and some amazing kind of industries that we have. And I think Fliss will touch on the creative industries a bit later. But each one is kind of, our industries do influence our university courses. So there is a link between kind of our university courses and kind of what you can do afterwards. So it is a really great place to do a creative course. In terms of study options, there's pretty much everything I think you can imagine. So whatever creative subject you're interested in, I think there will be an option for you in the UK. And I think this diversity really keeps students engaged, and a lot of the courses have really interesting course structures and optional classes that you can take, so you can really tailor the course to your own interests. And there is definitely a distinct heritage and culture in the UK. You might have watched kind of British television, or you might be familiar with kind of British culture already. But in terms of wherever you study in the UK, you'll find festivals or cultural experiences, maybe community theatre. So there's lots of cultural things to get involved with outside of your studies. And whichever course you study, transferable skills are obviously very, very important. So the creative industries are growing in the UK, but even if you decide to go into a non-creative industry, the skills that you develop in a creative degree are definitely sought after. So, things like communication skills, critical thinking, collaborative working, and you do all of that within a creative degree. So whichever industry you go in, you'll have some brilliant skills to take with you. And as I mentioned before, the creative industries are growing in the UK as well as Europe. And so that gives students kind of plenty of opportunities to gain work experience while they study. And also some universities offer placement years. So that's something to look at if it interests you. And something new this year is the graduate route visa in the UK. So students can apply to stay for up to 2 years after they graduate. So if you would like to stay in the UK to get some work experience, then this is possible now, which is brilliant. And just in general, we love creativity in the UK, I think, and yeah, you'll find this kind of wherever you study. So what can the creative institutions offer you? So there are different institutions in the UK. So you'll find maybe universities, colleges, and specialist institutions which might specialise in a particular creative discipline. So it's important to discover where you might like to study and have a think about that. There's definitely an opportunity to follow your own interests and passions. So within different courses themselves, you can pick different optional classes, you can learn different technical skills, and you can kind of really explore your passion and enthusiasm for that particular subject. Different universities will have different approaches to the subject area, so it's important to do your research and discover kind of which approach you might prefer, which one you might be kind of successful at. So, and that's definitely very important. You can find all that information on the university website. Most courses will have a mixture of theory and practice. So a lot of creative courses are very studio based, but there will be some theoretical aspects to the course. And this could be, for example, critical studies. But yeah, there is a nice balance generally in creative courses in the UK. A lot of universities have links to cultural institutions, so in their local area or their kind of local city. So this could mean that you get to visit those institutions as part of your course. It could mean that they have visiting speakers from those institutions, so you have professionals coming in to share their knowledge and experiences. And it may also mean work experience opportunities. So often the links to cultural institutions again are listed on the university website. And I mentioned studio culture. This is a really big aspect of usually of the practical creative courses in the UK. So you get lots of time in the studio to develop those practical skills, and having access to different workshops and as well as the technicians that look after the workshops is a fantastic resource, as you can learn so many things within those workshops. And again, most universities will tell you about their state-of-the-art facilities because they're usually fantastic. So you can find pictures and information on the websites. And this is just some examples of some of the workshops you might come across if you are looking to study an art and design degree, for example. So here you can see a casting workshop at the top, and if you kind of go down, you've got media, textiles, and then you have a metalwork, photography, stitch and fabric. We've got fine art print, textile print, woodwork. So, you know, the world is your oyster in terms of the different mediums that you can learn to use within a creative degree. Thank you. I'll pass over to Fliss.
Fabulous, thank you. Okay, so I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about careers and jobs in the creative industries in the UK. I've just had a look through the participant list, and I can see some names I recognise. So I do apologise if you guys hear the same jokes and the same quips from previous presentations. So you can see on here this unending list, really, of jobs available within the creative industries within the UK. I think especially parents get quite worried when students say they want to go and do a creative degree in the UK, or they want to do something in the creative industries or art and design. They think, how can you get a job with that? The reality is everything surrounding us, nearly everything on this computer, all the interfaces, the phone you hold, the clothes you wear, the house you live in, the television you watch, the hair color you have, everything is coming from a creative specialist, coming from a creative individual. And without those creative individuals, we would all be naked, grey and afraid. It would be terrible. It would be a very boring world we lived in. So there is a huge amount of work out there available in the creative industries, and it is an incredibly fast growing industry. Some of the jobs here that you see won't exist in the future and will have been replaced by something completely different. You guys, Gen Z, are going to change the world, and it's going to be absolutely fascinating. Just as an example, I always like to use is when I went to university in 2004, Facebook had only just started. It just wasn't really even a thing. And now, 15 years later, the social media industry is one of the biggest in the world. It's absolutely huge. I mean, can you imagine a world without social media? Whether that's good or bad, but we do have it. And that is all these jobs, all this whole industry, it's been created in the last 15 years. It's absolutely incredible. What you guys are going to go into is a world that does change incredibly rapidly, and it's going to be really exciting, and we can't wait to see what you do and what evolves from this creation that you guys put out there. All right, so how do we help you find a job? So we don't want you just to come to us to study a creative degree. We want you to come to us and then be an adult in the real world. We want you to be employable in the real world. You might be the best fashion designer. You might be the best fine artist or filmmaker the world has ever known. But if you can't talk about it, if you can't get yourself out there, if you can't spread your message and show people your work, what's the point? We need to teach you how to actually be employable in these industries. And that's really central to every course that we teach. So it does depend on each university how they do it. Every university does it differently, but most universities are going to do it pretty damn well, because we want alumni that we can brag about. We want to send you out into the world and be able to brag. That's one of ours. So visiting professionals. Of course, each university is going to have incredible links to different networks, different businesses, different organizations. We want you to be involved in that real world from the very beginning. So it might be workshops or talks by visiting professionals. They might take students to go and do internships or projects. There's all sorts of different things. A lot of programs will have live projects as well throughout your studies. So you're not just looking at theoretical understanding, you're actually working with business from the very beginning of your studies, and you're working on the kind of projects as a group with people out, sometimes outside your specialist subject, to understand how those projects work in the real world. You get very heavily involved in competitions and exhibitions because people need to see your work. You know, if you are winning competitions in your home country, that's great because you're going to get your name out there. That's wonderful. So we help you get your name out there that way. Loads of internships, work placements, mentoring. Every university does it a little bit differently, but there's loads of hands-on experience available for your internships. Lots of expert careers advice, of course. Every university is going to have a careers and alumni group who are going to help you with all those different options once you graduate or during your time studying. But the connections that you're going to have to your academics and to the teachers on your program are absolutely invaluable. They're an incredible network and will ensure that you have the right links to the right people, you know the right people, know how to speak to the right people. They are an infinite source of how to be a professional in this industry. Then ideas factories. A lot of universities have ideas factories, often called different things, to really help you to evolve your individual ideas. And if you want to be, you know, self-employed, start your own business, the ideas factories are great for showing you how to do that. And then just some employment statistics in the middle. So in the UK, on average, 93% of graduates are in employment or further education 6 months after graduation. And we think the other 7% are just, you know, having a lovely time on a beach somewhere. And the creative industries in the UK. So the creative industries in the UK, for a small island, we pack a hell of a punch. There's a lot going on here, and there's a lot more than you probably realise. You've probably been surrounded by British creativity without even being aware of it. Creative industries are worth £111 billion to our economy every year. So it's absolutely massive. And it works out about 12.7 million an hour. And it's growing 5 times faster than the rate of the average UK economy. So it's one of our biggest industries. We're a nation that produces ideas and research, and this is a huge part of it. So in IT, software and games, you know, the real, I shouldn't say it, but the real genius from Apple was a British guy. I think Tim Cook was his name. You know, we've been at the forefront of things like that for quite a long time. The gaming industry here is absolutely huge. Grand Theft Auto is probably one of the most famous UK games. But then we're also killing it on the apps charts as well. Film and television. So Squid Games has only just replaced Bridgerton as the top Netflix TV show to have ever been watched. So we're right up there. Especially, guys, if you're watching a lot of American TV, you'd be amazed at how much of it was actually a British invention and they just stole it and gave it an American accent. Then in terms of movies as well, you know, so much is produced here. We're not just talking about Harry Potter, but The Witcher, you know, was literally just shot around the corner from my house a few weeks ago. And they've also been doing Game of Thrones, the new prequel to Game of Thrones around the corner. We're just littered at the place. You know, we've got so many castles and so much history here. It's great to actually be involved in the film industry in the UK. It's absolutely massive. And then, of course, publishing, architecture, advertising, British fashion is world renowned, as is our music industry. So there's an incredible amount that you can do here. Don't feel like you need to be somewhere else. And it's all very transferable as well. Okay. And a foundation. Okay. So a foundation is a pre-degree. So it's a pre-degree intensive course. Different universities call their foundation different things. Some places it's an international foundation, some places it's an integrated foundation diploma. you'll see what it is. It makes sense. This pre-degree, this foundation, this international foundation, they're designed for two things. So if you don't quite have the right level of high school education, if your high school education only allows you to do 11 years or so, often you will be required to do a foundation because you don't quite meet the entry requirements to go straight into year one of university. For other students, they're not confident in their portfolio. They would like to take an extra year of study to try lots of different things. And for other students, it's just allowing themselves time to develop as an individual. They might not need that extra time at all in terms of the academic levels, but taking that time to really enjoy what you want to study can be great. A lot of students just do not even get the chance to do creative subjects in high school. We're never going to punish you for that, but the foundation can be a great way for you to actually get to know what art and design subjects are, try lots of different art and design subjects, and then be introduced to things that you never even knew existed. And we'll be really careful as well in helping you to choose your undergraduate program. So just to sum up, a foundation isn't required for every student. A lot of students may be able to go straight directly into year one of an undergraduate program. But a foundation course is never a bad choice. If you have the extra time and money to do it, have fun, do it. It's a great year. And if you have to do it because of the qualification levels, you will definitely enjoy it. They're really good things to do.
Thanks, Beth. So having covered all of that, we're now going to move on to how to go about choosing your university. So of course, first and foremost, it's very important to choose a subject that you enjoy and that you feel you are good at. We've already mentioned how in the UK, a standard degree is 3 years long. Sometimes can be extended to 4, for example, if you add a placement or a study abroad year. So for that, throughout that 3 years, you are going to be spending an awful lot of time studying this subject. And in the UK, we do tend to focus on 1 or maybe 2 if you do a dual major, all the way through. So you're going to be spending a lot of time studying that subject. So it's very important to really focus on something that you enjoy and feel you can be successful at. When you're looking at a university and choosing your course, you do want to think ahead to your chosen career path, because of course that is the ultimate aim. So think about what you would like to do. And of course, we know that ideas of what you want to do can change a lot during the 3 years you're at university, but it's a good idea to at least have an idea of where you might want to end up and whether that course will help you to get there. As I said, some do allow an industrial placement or study abroad opportunity. So sometimes this can be for 1 semester, or sometimes it can be for a full year. And there are the options to either do that as a replacement year for your 3-year degree, or to then extend your degree to a 4-year degree to accommodate an industrial placement or study abroad opportunity. So again, this is something to investigate when you start to narrow down your university choices. What is the course content? What are the options available to you for study abroad opportunities or industrial placements? You want to think about the location and the transport links of the university you're applying to. So as an international student, of course, it will be a consideration of just how easy it is to travel from your home country to the university that you will be studying at. So of course, that would be a consideration, but also the location of your university. And this comes really down to personal choice. So in the UK, we have all sorts of shapes and sizes of universities. We have really big universities and very small universities. Some universities can be right in the middle of a city or spread out throughout a city. Some universities are entirely campus-based. So it's really what kind of location you think would suit you best, whether you prefer a more urban location, a more rural location, campus-based or city-based. And that comes down to personal choice and where you think you will feel happiest and most comfortable. You also want to think about the style of study. So this could be whether you want to be kind of based on campus, maybe working in workshops, maybe a practice-based course, very hands-on, or whether you want to think about a more academic approach. And for the creative courses, we have universities that take both approaches. So I know at my university, then our style of study is very hands-on and very practice-based, and it really is aimed at students who want to be doing, producing, and making their own artwork. But there are other universities who will approach the same subjects, but from a more academic standpoint. And I don't mean that our courses are not academic, but they are more practice-based. Whereas some universities, you can study a creative course, but not actually make any art at all. So again, it's up to you and what style you would prefer. Some courses will require work experience, so this is something to check on individual university websites, but that's not normally something required at undergraduate level. And then also you want to look at what extracurricular activities and hobbies are available to you at each university. So this might be, does the university have a very active students' union? Do they have lots and lots of clubs and societies? And at UK universities, there's all sorts of crazy clubs and societies available, like the Harry Potter Society, the Cheese Eating Society. So whatever there is, there's going to be something to suit you. So you might want to check out what there is on offer at that university. Perhaps look at the sports facilities if that's important to you as well. Accommodation options will also be a consideration. Many universities, especially campus-based ones, have their own accommodation. Other universities will work with private providers. But again, look at the style of accommodation options and what you think will suit you best. And then, of course, it's definitely an important consideration, the cost of studying. So tuition fees are set individually university to university, so that will vary depending on the course and the campus. And then living costs are normally considered separately. So again, this might vary a lot depending on what area of the UK you're studying. For example, the north of the UK is generally a bit of a lower cost of living than the south. And then again, scholarships. So you might want to see what scholarships are available at each university. Again, this does vary from university to university. Each university will have their own scholarship offer. So once you've started to narrow down your university choices, it's worth spending a bit of time on the individual university website to find out all of these things. So remember, every course is different. So you do want to look at the individual course content at each one of your potential university choices. The entry requirements, the UCAS system does allow you to apply to up to 5 universities, and each one will show their entry requirements on the website. So you know your predicted grades, you know what you are likely to achieve. So we do advise you to aim high, of course, stretch yourself, but also do be realistic about where you think you are likely to be offered a place when choosing your universities. Other opportunities available will, of course, depend on the campus location and what clubs and societies they can offer. The methods of assessment is something, again, this is something that you might want to think about what will suit you best. So, for example, do you prefer to be assessed through coursework, or do you prefer to sit exams? I know that I was definitely on the coursework side, and I managed to avoid exams entirely in my final year, which I was very pleased about. Like to think about the facilities available at each institution, and not just the facilities for your course, but also, for example, maybe sports facilities, if that's important to you, and the support offered by each university as well. And this will vary from university to university, but of course in the UK, we do really want to support our students, and each university will have many, many services in place, such as student advice, welfare, academic learning support, and that's all there to support you throughout your course and help you to succeed. And accreditation of each university. Some courses, especially more professional courses, some courses will carry a professional accreditation, but in general in the UK, all universities are accredited by the UK government. So you can definitely have the reassurance that there is a very vigorous quality assurance process in place. So the application process for a UK course, it is usually via UCAS for degree level courses. UCAS is the universities and colleges admission system. So at undergraduate level, the majority of our applications will come through UCAS. Some universities will also accept direct applications. So again, check the website just to see. Universities that accept direct applications will also accept applications through UCAS for undergraduate courses. If you're applying for a foundation year, it is normally a direct application. The same with a postgraduate course. It's normally a direct application to the university. As I mentioned before, there is a maximum of 5 choices that you can make through UCAS, and we do recommend that you maximise those 5 choices, just to give yourself as much opportunity as possible to be offered a place on a course. The application is a blind application, so we can't see where else you have applied, so this won't inform our decision. This won't affect our decision on whether to offer you a place, but I would be careful with the personal statement as part of the application. Just keep it quite general. Don't mention specifically one of your university choices, because then the other universities might know that they are not your first choice. UCAS does have different deadlines throughout the year. Normally this is in January. It's normally the 15th of January, although this year it has been put back to the 26th, I believe, due to the pandemic. If you submit your application before the deadline, you will be given equal consideration, so considered alongside all the other applications that have been submitted on time. If you do miss that deadline, your application will still be considered, but universities may consider the applications that were submitted in time first, especially for more popular courses. And as part of the UCAS application, you apply and complete your education history. It does give you the option to include things like work experience placements that you might have done, and to talk about any kind of extracurricular activities or hobbies that might be relevant to the course. And you'd also, of course, supply all of the information about your qualifications within that education history to allow us to make a decision. Normally you would submit the application, and then later on, after the university has had a chance to consider your application, you would then submit a portfolio. Some universities will ask you to attend an interview, not all, and for international students, of course, we can normally offer this as an online process. But if you are in the UK, that's normally a great opportunity to visit the university as well, to meet some of the staff, your potential course mates, and to get a feel for the buildings and the facilities and the place as well, to see if it's the kind of place that you think might suit you. And this is just a bit of a timeline of the process, just to lay it out. So in September, applications will open for the following September, and you can make up to 5 course choices. The 15th of October is early application deadlines, but for creative courses, you don't have to worry about this one. This is normally for people applying to Oxbridge or for medicine and veterinary courses. So for people applying for creative courses, that wouldn't apply. The deadline to focus on is the 15th of January in normal years, but this year it is a little bit later. So that is the equal consideration deadline. The 30th of June is another deadline for international students. So international students do have that extra bit of flexibility. But although the 30th of June is the international student deadline, do still aim for the January deadline to ensure equal consideration of your application. Universities will then process your applications and invite you either to interview or to submit supplementary information. And by this, we normally mean a portfolio or an audition. And by the end of March, we do aim to make the majority of decisions, but it may be a little bit later than that, and that's no reason to worry at all. Then the deadlines for you to reply to your offers are normally in May or June, but again, they will vary depending on when you received your decisions. But you can see your individual deadlines through your UCAS track account, so that's something to focus on. When you receive a response to all of your offers, you then decide on a firm and an insurance choice, and you decline your other offers, assuming you have received 5 offers. Then over the summer, you receive your results, send those to the universities that you're holding a firm and an insurance choice offer for, and we can confirm your place on the course. So how to find out more? There is a wealth of resources out there to help you. The UCAS website itself has loads of information about how to make your application, about how to go about creating your personal statement, especially. So there are some really useful resources on the UCAS website, such as a personal statement builder tool. The other thing to remember about that is it does give you lots of handy hints and tips as well. Like, for example, make sure that your personal statement is not copied, because any personal statement that is more than 10% similar to another one's will be rejected. So all of that information is on the UCAS website. The individual university websites, of course, are a really valuable resource for finding out about individual universities and the courses. And of course, the prospectus. You can normally request a prospectus on the university website if you do prefer printed material. What Unistats, Student Room and the National Student Survey are all really good places to find out what university students have to say about them. So hear directly from the students, and in sites like the Student Room, you can actually ask direct questions of students to hear what they have to say. Of course, we've been talking about social media tonight. All universities are on social media, and that is a really good place to actually see student work. So all of our courses, especially creative universities, will have Instagram accounts where we display all our student work. So go find out what our students are producing. And on individual websites, you can also chat to student ambassadors. There's also open days, and of course, most universities are now holding virtual open days, but we do hope to go back to holding physical open days for anyone who happens to be in the UK. But you can, of course, see all of our facilities virtually through the virtual tour. And there are opportunities to attend webinars and taster lectures as well. Yeah, I think that's it from me. I'll hand over to Jess now, who's going to touch on portfolios.
Thanks, Jenny. That was great. I just want to take a minute to reinforce something that Jenny mentioned at the beginning, and that this session we're doing right now is really a highlight version of some of the in-depth sessions that are occurring today and tomorrow. And so right now, I'm going to have 3-4 slides to talk about portfolios, but indeed tomorrow we're offering an entire 1-hour session specifically about portfolios. So if this is something that is of particular interest to you, this is a great starting place. You would have already heard some portfolio advice in other sessions today, but it is also probably the most common question that we get is give me as much detail as you can about what a portfolio should look like. So we'll just do a couple of little highlights, but please join us tomorrow as well. The portfolio for a creative degree at a university in the UK, you really have to think of it as a way of showing your personal perspective, your voice, your unique personality. So going back to what students ask us, the most common question I get is, can I see a sample of a portfolio? Can you show me an example? What is the template that I should follow when I create my portfolio? And we're often very hesitant to do that, because each portfolio should be unique. It should be a reflection of the individual. And the minute we give you an example or a template, you're going to fit yourself into that box, whether or not it represents you. So really embrace this opportunity to show who you are. That is what our course teams are looking to see. We do want to see a good degree of technical skill, but when we say that, we don't expect you to be the level of a practicing professional. We just want to see where your technical skill currently is. We also need to see good quality images, especially where you're submitting a digital portfolio. Please ensure that what you submit is a good and accurate representation of your work. We do highly recommend that you think very critically about the pieces you include and try to have a flow to your portfolio, that it shouldn't just be kind of random pieces plonked in a random order. But think about, is it chronological as you came to the pieces? Is there a story behind the evolution of those works? And really think about the way that someone will look at this. Fliss uses the example of it being like a piece of music or perhaps a story. And I think that's a really nice way to think of it, a beginning, a middle, and an end. And yes, we do encourage you to include a brief explanation of the pieces. That might be the inspiration or the medium, but we do not recommend that they be full-fledged essays for each piece. That won't be an efficient use, and I promise that people won't be reading the entire work. So again, be very thoughtful of what you include there. And every university is going to publish instructions and guidelines for their portfolio. And for us, they will be on the website right now. They are not hidden. You will likely be sent them when you submit your application. So take a moment to consult each university's portfolio guidelines and really take that on board. Next slide, please. Okay, so again, some brief guidelines, but again, check with your universities and take this all with a grain of salt. It's not going to apply to every course at every university. 15 to 20 pieces. But when we say pieces, depending on your discipline, that could mean individual projects, or that could be components of a project. For example, scans of your sketchbook pages could count as a piece. A bit of writing about your inspiration and your research could count as a piece. An image of the final project could count as a piece. But what you're looking at is when the person reviews your portfolio, they will have the opportunity to review 15 to 20 kind of pages. You should include 2D work and 3D work. Now, again, depending on your discipline, 3D work may not be something you do. You might be an illustrator and that drawing is going to be the bulk of your work. But if it's something you've had the chance to experiment with, a little bit of sculpture, perhaps you played with fashion and done some garment work, don't hesitate to include pieces from other disciplines and don't exclusively focus on one area only. The artistic world, the creative world, we are inspired by all different things all the time. And so very rarely will you kind of narrow yourself into one specific discipline. So don't hesitate to include those other areas that have inspired you as well. Photography may take the form of your actual artwork, your projects, but it may also be your means of communication. Obviously, in the digital world, you're submitting images. So take care with the photography that you submit, whether it's your artwork or it's representing your pieces as well. You can also use photography to reflect, again, your inspiration and your vision. Photography can be very useful to show how you see the world, your perspective, your artistic eye. So that can be a really valuable tool. Digital work is also welcome, especially for those who are looking at fields that are increasingly active in the digital world. But generally speaking, at a creative university, we don't want to see exclusively digital work. We might see this for people who are looking at perhaps graphic design or animation or VFX. And of course, those fields can be heavily digital. But a lot of our universities really come from a foundational place of creative and artistic skills, and we want to see those. So that's light drawing, that's sketching, those types of things should be a part of your portfolio. Again, we'll say this all the time until the cows come home. We want to see your ideas. The goal here is to convey to your course team what's in your head, what you can't wait to get out and create, and how we're going to be able to help you do that. So inspiration and theme should guide everything you include in your portfolio. Next slide, please. Just a couple of common mistakes that we see in a lot of portfolios, just to hopefully guide you away from those early in the process. Our universities, when we talk, we spend a lot of time focused on the practical creating aspects of what we do. And that is so critical to who we are, and it's a part of our ethos as our creative universities. But we are still universities, and there's an academic underpinning to everything we do. So while we are asking to see your work and your creative process, we also need to have an understanding of how you work in an academic environment. So while you're working on your creative work at the university, you will also be doing research and analysis into the social implications or the cultural implications, the historical, the environmental. And there's a component of research to almost everything we do at university. And so to demonstrate a little bit of that, or at least show that you're capable of the academic work that goes along with creating, is very important in a portfolio. It's very nice if things are perfect and look beautiful, but again, it can be perfected to the point of no longer being organic. And so really focus on your ideas. A lot of students think that everything they put in their portfolio has to be perfect. It got them an A on their project, and this is the moment. But in fact, a lot of our teachers, our course teams, talk about the pieces that weren't perfect, but just had this glimmer of idea of inspiration behind it. And they found that really engaging and exciting. So you want to have a balance of those perfect finished pieces, but also those ideas you haven't quite been able to execute to the degree that you'd like to. Making sure that the presentation and the style is useful and functional. Fliss raised the point earlier in another session about passwords. If you're submitting a digital portfolio and you password protect it, you're just putting an extra barrier in the process, and we don't want that to impact the decision that's being made. So make sure that it's accessible and functional. And please don't put extra pieces in just because you think you have to. If we've said 15 to 20 pieces and you've got 12 quality pieces that represent who you are, you're better to put that forth than to throw in a couple of GCSE or middle years projects just to make up those pieces. Again, think of editing and curating your work. Next slide, please. Just a few little top tips. The first one would be join us in our portfolio session tomorrow. But in case you can't do that, check the website. The universities all publish this. If you can't find it, ask one of us. That's our job, is to point you in the direction of this information. Show a variety of your work and include that raw creative process. Don't be afraid to share that. It makes us very vulnerable, but we are all artists and we understand that, and we have respect for that. So putting yourself out there is really what we're looking for to get a better understanding of who you are. Quality over quantity. Don't make up those numbers. Sharing photographs, and this goes even if you have the opportunity to attend an in-person interview. It looks like we're headed back that way. That might be a possibility. You don't have to drag in your 40-foot canvases or your sculptures made of marble. Photographs are fine too. Use the caption function. Think of that one word or that one sentence statement that you would share with someone if you were talking about your portfolio work, and make sure that the portfolio is accessible and functional. All right, I think that's about it. And we are just going to briefly introduce the universities here today, because I think that's a really important distinction that we get to make as it being a part of the session. So again, my name is Jessica and I'm with Arts University Bournemouth. We are a medium-sized creative university of about 3,700 students, and AUB is located on the south coast of England. We're right near the beach. It's a very popular tourist destination. It's one of the things that many of our students love most about our community, is that immediate access to the beach environment. There are lots of different accolades and league tables to share, but the one that we're most proud of is we were named the top specialist art and design university by the Sunday Times Good University Guide for this year. And I think that the real watchword at AUB is collaboration. Because all of our courses are located on one campus, we are a creative community, and each of our courses draws from the other disciplines and the other students. So not only do you work with students on your course, but you get the opportunity to work across the different subjects. And the best example we have is the Bournemouth Film School, which is the largest film school outside of London. And it's the home of about 8 of our different degree courses that all work in different aspects of moving image. And now I'm going to pass things over to, I think it's Goldsmiths. Yeah, Sarah's back on.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Jess. Hi again, everybody. So just a little bit about Goldsmiths. So we're a very old institution, founded towards the end of the 1800s, and we've been part of the University of London for over a century now. So what this means for students is that you will graduate with a University of London degree, but it also means that you can have access to, for example, the libraries of all the other University of London institutions, as well as the Central London University of London Library, which is something a little bit like the library in Harry Potter. It's amazing and very, very old, with a lot of heritage in there. So yes, so it's a really nice kind of group of universities to be a part of. And in terms of our campus, we are in London. We have one campus, and we're just in the southeast of London, and we are about 10 minutes from the centre, so 10 minutes on the train to London Bridge. So you really do have London on your doorstep, which is fantastic. But it's also amazing to explore the different areas of London, because I think each area has a different vibe. And the southeast, so where Goldsmiths is based, it's very creative, very up and coming, very urban, and I think really you get a real London experience there, because actually real Londoners live there. There's not many Londoners live in central London, so you really get to be part of the local community as well, which is fantastic. So we have about 10,000 students from a lot of different countries, so it's a very, very diverse campus. And with 10,000 students, we're sort of a medium-sized institution, I would say, with some of the bigger universities having, you know, up to 40,000. So there's definitely a big range in terms of size. And we are very well known as a creative university, but also a political one. So if you have an interest in kind of getting involved in the politics of the university, our Students' Union is very active, and there's a lot of campaigns and really interesting things you can get involved in that sense. And with our courses, as I said, we have a really big focus on the creative arts. So we have courses in art, in design, different media and communications courses, as well as performing arts. But we also offer other creative courses such as arts management and curating. So for example, if you want to get involved more in the creative industries, but perhaps not have that studio practice side, we do have that option as well. And it's quite interesting at Goldsmiths because we do also have other departments that offer kind of courses around the social sciences, as well as the humanities. So you'll be going to university with students across a few different subject areas, which makes it quite an interesting and diverse place to be. Yeah, that's just a bit about Goldsmiths. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. So moving on now to Leeds Arts University. We are the only specialist arts university in the north of England. As you might have guessed, we are based in the city of Leeds. We're quite small. We have around 2,000 students studying with us full time. We're very friendly and supportive as well. So when students join us, they are joining a creative community because as it might tell you from the specialist title, we are purely creative and visual arts. That's all we do. So students are joining a very creative community of artists and designers. So all our students are creative. We are small, like I mentioned, and we are #1 for student support, which we're really proud of. That was in the What Uni Student Choice Awards. I think this comes from a very high contact with staff. So all of our staff are practicing artists and designers. So, you know, they're experts in their field. And students get a massive amount of one-on-one time. We have an open door policy. So students do get to know their tutors really well. And there's always someone to talk to, lots of support available. And you can't get lost in the crowd because there are no crowds to get lost in. Everybody knows everybody. So it's very high student satisfaction and retention rates, which we're really proud of. So our alumni include people like Damien Hirst, who is the world's highest paid living artist, Barbara Hepworth and Henry Moore, who of course are both famous sculptors. We have the Hepworth Gallery just down the road, and then Henry Moore's work is exhibited at the Yorkshire Sculpture Park, which again is just down the road, and that's a really lovely place to go wander around on a weekend afternoon. Leeds itself is a very exciting, rapidly growing city with a thriving arts scene, lots of arts, music and culture. We're known as the Knightsbridge of the North because we've also got a big shopping scene if you're into that as well. We have 5 universities in total based in Leeds, so it really is a very student-focused city. And we're lucky that in the north of the UK, we do enjoy a lower cost of living. And Leeds was actually voted the UK's best place to be a student. So again, it kind of tells you what kind of a city it is. All of our facilities are industry standard, and we had £20 million worth of investment in our campus completed in 2019, and 92% of our graduates are in work or further study within 6 months of finishing their course. So employability is really woven into the courses and really embedded in everything we do. I'll now pass over to Must Be You next, Bliss.
Fab, thank you. Okay, so we are the University for the Creative Arts. So obviously we're a real art and design creative specialist. We are considered one of the top creative art and design universities in the UK. But then again, I think everyone here is. So we're the A team, we're the good group. So we regularly win lots of awards and we've got lots of different accolades, but I won't bore you with too many numbers and figures. But we are down in the southeast of England. So we're 2 campuses down in Surrey and 2 in Kent. We started as 4 separate art and design institutions in the 1850s and then became universities over the years. That's why we've got those 4 different campuses, but really lovely locations in and around London. So super central to everything that's going on, and very creative locations in themselves. We have about 120, sorry, this is a little bit inaccurate. We have about 120 different art and design programs. So there's a huge range of things that you can do. And it will really sort of test your limits when you're trying to choose exactly what kind of fashion course or exactly what kind of film course you want to do, because there's so much to choose from. Small classes, very, very studio focused, just fabulous facilities. You know, you could do everything from make a pair of shoes to produce a record on our campuses. a record. Oh my God, how old am I? But huge film studios, huge theatres as well. So absolutely loads to keep you entertained. We really push for students to be very project focused, so lots of live briefs with industry and very collaborative with students across other courses and campuses as well. It's really important for us to make sure that you're a grown-up in the real world that knows how to do a job with other people. In terms of alumni, I think we've got something like a dozen Oscar winners to our name. We've worked on every Marvel film that's ever happened, with a recent Loki on Netflix, on Disney Plus, was produced and directed by one of our students, which we're super proud of. But then in terms of animation, you know, again, super high-end things, lots of award winners and competition winners. But I think the alumni that we are most famous for is Peppa Pig. She is ours. We love a bit of Peppa Pig, and I think that's why our branding is so pink, because we love to talk about that pig. All right, thank you guys.
Great. So I think that brings us to the end of our presentation now, but just wanted to put this up to remind you of the sessions happening tomorrow. I think we have mentioned the portfolio session quite a lot, but again, it really is key to support your application to a creative course in the UK. So please do make sure you attend that one. Then there is some more course specific ones as well, such as studying film, television and media, a bit more about creative careers and where your degree will take you, as well as Ask Me Anything, a really important session when you can hear direct from international students currently studying at our universities. So make sure you get your questions ready and go talk to those students tomorrow. I think there are a couple of questions in the chat, so just to go through them. There was one from Mariana who says, how abundant are scholarships for international students and how many options of scholarships are there? So I think we can all add a little bit to that one, but I think the most important thing to do is just to check the individual websites of each university, because there are plenty of scholarships on offer, but they are individual to each university. So you'll have to check each website of each individual university in order to get that information, and also to find out about the application procedures. It would normally be that you would normally apply for a place to study before then applying for a scholarship. I know at my university, scholarships are awarded as tuition fee discounts, but we do have one scholarship, which is a cash bursary as well for international students. But again, it will vary hugely from university to university, so I would definitely recommend checking the individual websites of each university. I don't know if anyone wants to add anything to that, or if I've pretty much covered it there.
Yeah, I think the only thing I would add is, especially for the students who are researching across different countries and continents, the scholarship programs that are available outside of the United States will not compare to the stories you hear about what's available in the US. And typically that's because of the private universities and colleges in the US. So the universities here today, and the vast majority of the universities you will consider in the UK, are public institutions, which makes our tuition slightly lower, but therefore we don't have the income and revenue available to offer full ride scholarships or covering, you know, all of your tuition. So it's that balance of doing the research of your actual costs and making sure that you're comparing the total out-of-pocket expenses that you might be asked to foot.
Yeah, I think that's a really key point there. So yes, it's really looking at the cost of attendance in total and comparing that then. I think in the UK, it's normally, as we were saying, comparable to out-of-state tuition. So you might find that in the US, the scholarships are higher, but so is the sticker price. So yes, comparing like for like, I think is the key phrase really. And the next question is, will a school's website specify if they assess using coursework or final written exams, and how can I check? So yes, it should normally do. I know on my university's website, on each individual course page, we talk about teaching and learning methods, we talk about methods of assessment, and you can also read the full course specification as well. So when you're doing your research, that's the kind of level of detail you want to go into to make sure that you are choosing the course that's right for you. So yes, each individual website should specify that information.
And again, going back to the fact that we're all public universities and governed by the government, we are required to publish that information. So this should be available to you. It may require some digging, but we are all bound by these strict regulations. We are all verify, everything has external assessors. Like it's a very good system to ensure that the quality of your education at the public universities in the UK will be to the highest standards possible.
Absolutely. The next question, are there any financial benefits to studying in the UK versus studying in the US? I think that's a difficult one, because I think it would depend what you mean by financial benefits. I think so. We've covered the fact that US universities can often give higher scholarships, but then you are looking at a 4-year degree compared to a 3-year degree. And in the UK, the costs of our tuition do tend to be slightly lower as well. So I think it would depend on your individual circumstances and any offers that you have been made that would help you to make that decision. Don't know, does anyone have anything to add for that?
I think it's always important to remember that in the UK, your course length, if we say it's 3 or 4 years, it's 3 or 4 years. You're not going to be messing around for 5 or 6 years. You're either, I hate to say it, but going to fail and you're not going to be continuing that course, or you are going to graduate 99% of the time within that time. So it's not like an experience is going to be dragged on forever. Obviously, most institutions in the UK are going to accept FAFSA and all sorts of international loans. So speak to the institution about how much you can generally take out in those. Yeah, it's amazing how many students, especially from the US, come over to study here and then just end up staying forever. So it can certainly look expensive when you look at those numbers at the beginning, but then you need to consider how much you would actually be paying if you're staying at home with some of those pretty wild tuition fees, and then how long it really would take you to graduate once you're done, and how much you want to come back and be one of us, you know, just for a little bit. Jess, I know you're Canadian, you came, you stayed.
I think we've got another question, says, will the portfolio session tomorrow be recorded, and can we watch it at a later time? So yes, it will be. All the sessions for the Creative UK events are being recorded, so you will be able to access those later. And then I think there's another question about how can you tell which unis are more hands-on versus academic? And again, this comes down to researching the individual courses on the university websites that you're interested in. So start by kind of narrowing down your choices by the location that you're interested in and those which offer the course that you're interested in, and then read the course specifications for each university that you're thinking of, because yes, they should explain exactly their approach to the subject and how they will be delivering that course. And I think if you are able to visit the university and to see the facilities and to talk to the staff, or even visit it virtually or attend a virtual open day, you'll get that feeling as well. So I think it really is about the approach to the course. So at my university, it's very hands-on. We approach it in a very practice-based way. Of course, there is still academic writing required, because that does underpin the full course. But it is a very practice-based course, and that's our approach to it. Whereas other universities will take a much more academic approach to that. So for example, one example of that is the University of Leeds, which is also in my city. They also offer a fashion design course, but the students don't actually undertake any kind of garment construction as part of that course. It's all very theoretical. Whereas within our course, it's very hands-on, practice-based. You are doing garment construction. So it's just a varying approach to the same course.
Curious to know how they can call that a fashion design course, because what I was going to say is look at the names. And some students, especially when you're early in your research, tend to conflate the course names. Film studies and filmmaking are not the same. And you may think, oh, film, I just want to do film. But the study of film and the making of film in the name will give you some differences. So that's a very superficial level, but it is something to take into consideration. And exactly what Jenny said, drilling down. But I guarantee on our websites, when you look at the creative subjects, the first words that are going to be making, hands-on, studio-based. It's going to be pictures of students making all the time. So yeah. It becomes clear quite quickly, but it's worth checking.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, yes, studio-based is probably a pretty good clue. And again, what Jess said, that's a really good example. So filmmaking as opposed to film studies, that's another really good example of the approach to a course and how you can tell what it would be like. Let's just see if we've got any other questions. So how is the acting course in those institutions that offer that course? I'm afraid we don't offer acting at my institution, so I don't know if someone else wants to take that.
They're great. Really good, yeah. Yeah, I think check each institution that you're looking at for acting courses, because everyone teaches it differently. Some are teaching you simply for screen, so for film or television. Some are teaching you just for theatre. Some are teaching you a mix. We do a course that is entirely devoted to acting for content. So you're acting for YouTube, for social media. It's really, really weird, really different, but yeah, it's pretty cool. It's been quite popular this year. But Jess, Charlotte, Jess, Sarah, did you guys want to talk about yours?
I just want to jump in with one of my favorite things about a course like acting at universities like ours, because we're creative communities and it's that drawing from each other, and our actors win because the costumers need someone to wear their costumes, so the actors get to wear them. The makeup team, our students studying makeup, need someone to practice on, so they work on the actors. The photographers need someone to photograph, so they call on the actors. The film production students need someone to be in their film, so they call on the actors. So that is something worth exploring. Yes, there's, you know, the conservatoires and there's these amazing drama schools, but what about being in these engaged, active communities of creatives? And I really know, I look around our campus and I'm like, man, those actors just, they're having the best time. Their work is in high demand from day one.
I think that perfectly illustrates a big theme of all our institutions, which is collaboration, which is exactly how you would operate in the real world creative industries after graduation. You have to collaborate with all these different people in order to make your own career successful. So learning that throughout your degree is really key. And I think we've got another question as well. So we're getting some really good questions here. So do schools in the UK look at ACT or SAT scores? I think this is a very topical question at the moment, because I think especially during the pandemic, when things became very difficult for students in the US to take these tests, then a lot of UK schools did move to test optional. I think everyone can speak on behalf of their own institutions, but I know at my institution, we do look at students in the round. So if you've done ACTs or SATs, then absolutely, that's fantastic. Please do tell us about them. If you haven't, then we will look at your application as a whole. And that means looking at your full transcript. So have you taken any honours classes? What AP classes do you have? Have you got any subject tests? And any kind of advanced standing courses as well. We will take everything into account alongside your portfolio. So we do try take a very case-by-case approach to applications to try to take everyone's circumstances into account.
Yeah, we're the same. We were test optional last year. I'm arguing for us being, of course, it has to, you know, we will be test optional this year, but you know, it needs to be decided officially by the senior management team. So we're going to be test optional again. We don't want you guys to have to feel like you're putting yourself in a dangerous situation. And being an art and design university, we can be a bit more focused on the portfolio.
Exactly. The portfolio, I think, is always really key. And that's really an advantage of applying for a creative course. It's not just about academics. Because sometimes, you know, the algebra class that you took in high school is not really relevant to what you'll be studying during your creative degree. So yes, we do try look at applications in the round. I think that's the end of our questions, unless anyone has any other questions at all. If you do, just pop them in the chat now, but if not, then we will leave it there, because I think we have run over. So thank you very much for staying with us, and I really hope it was a helpful session. And thank you for attending the event, and please do check out the events that are happening tomorrow. And as we've said before, we will be sending out a recording of all the sessions, so you can listen to us all over again. Thank you very much for attending. Thank you.
Thanks all. Thanks. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
I'll just check that's no more question. Oh, someone's saying thank you. Thank you. Thank you for coming.